Hey guys, Wade Willis here for Wade's Weeb Reviews. And holy cow, the newest episode of ReZero, episode 4, season 2, absolutely crazy. Subaru gets kind of transported back to his past. Echidna, you hear her voice at the end of the last episode saying, hey, you're going to need to adjust your past before you can move on. And starts with him and his dad wrestling. Pretty funny. His dad's hilarious. And the banter between his family is really funny. And I did not expect his family to kind of have this dynamic. We kind of knew that he was like a shut-in going into this. And I just assumed that his family wasn't going to have this, loving of a dynamic. I thought there was going to be some other reason for him kind of leading up into who he is. But yeah, you kind of find out that his dad is famous. From what I saw, I couldn't figure out what for. It seemed like it was for sports. And growing up, he had to kind of deal with living in his father's shadow. Of course, just like his father. Stuff like that. And he grew up as naturally very gifted at things. And then kids started kind of catching up to him. Kind of another important thing, as he's progressing along in this stuff with his parents, it seems like a normal day. Anytime he's kind of going off track into the old Subaru, he has a heart ache or a headache that's really intense. Initially going through it, I was like, is this Echidna doing this to him? That's kind of what I was thinking during it. I'm not sure, but it seems like she's kind of pulling the strings a little bit and kind of kicking him to make sure he starts going down the path. And initially, it doesn't seem like he's aware of what he had gone through with Amelia or any of that stuff. It seems like he was kind of moving forward like none of that had happened. And then as he's talking with his dad and stuff and kind of reminiscing on his past, he starts getting flashes of Amelia and stuff, and then flashes with Rem, and that kind of makes everything flood back. And I think it's really interesting in the story. It kind of talks, he talks about how, he was kind of like a baller, really young as a kid, good at sports, really smart. And then as people started catching up, he stopped really trying in sports and being smart. And then he started being kind of a hoodlum, like doing pranks, trying to be funny, trying to always outdo himself. And for me personally, I wrestled a lot of my life. I started at 10 years old, and I kind of noticed a lot of the kids in wrestling who were really good, and had been wrestling since they were really little. When people like me and other kids who started later started catching up to them, a lot of them quit wrestling or just stopped doing it altogether. So it's him going through that where he's so gifted in the beginning, it kind of makes sense that he kind of fell off, because I've personally seen that happen to kids who were really gifted as a young kid and then really start having to overcome adversity, and they never had to do that before. And then you put on top that it seemed like his dad was famous, then you start to understand a little bit why he spiraled and things like that. Which is really interesting. Again, I thought it was going to be, he had a horrible home life, and then you realize his parents loved him. And something that's really interesting, he opens up to his dad and he's like, I wish you guys told me you hated me, you didn't love me anymore, all this stuff, which is really kind of interesting to me. And his parents never did that, and I think my parents would have definitely laid into me, which I think a parent should do in that situation. But his parents were very passive in this way. Interesting to me, my parents would have not let me miss school for 3 months, which you find out he did. But yeah, he's hurting inside. And then he starts to remember everything and realize, oh, like all these people, like I did things for them, but like they like love me, even though I like really the REM part really triggers things for him, like her basically saying I love you and like yeah, giving up doesn't suit you well.
でも 俺はエミリアが好きだ。
He moves forward with his dad. Then he has the rest of the episode is with him and his mom, and it's really interesting with his mom because she seems really kind of spacey, but then you see that she's actually way more observant than you think, and she kind of mentions like, hey, parents are really watching you all the time. And his mom really emphasizes on Subaru being his own person, and each parent says, hey, you have half of me, and that's something. But his mom, it's really important that like him being his own person, which going back to like Subaru living in his dad's shadow, that's super important. And Subaru at one point kind of brings up like, oh, like I needed to do all this stuff for you guys, or I need to do this stuff for you guys. And his mom's like, we didn't have you to have someone to do things for us. Which is really interesting, and I think the dynamic between Subaru feeling like he's failed his parents and like needing to do more to like support them even though they don't really need it. I thought it's very interesting because like that's not like a very common thing with like Americans. Like I feel like kids are super selfish in America and don't really think about, oh, I need to like I'm failing my parents or I need to do things for my parents. But like my friends that are like from other countries or their parents are from other countries and immigrated here, that's something I see. A lot of them talk to me like, oh, I need to do this for my family, and they're very way more family oriented and feel like a lot of times they're letting their family down, which I don't see that a lot of times with American kids, and a lot of us American kids are way more selfish in my opinion. So that was something interesting that I saw that kind of differs from how I grew up personally. And he kind of has like a very like emotional goodbye with his mom, tells her, hey, like I need to go do all this stuff, I'm gonna be gone for a while, but I'm never gonna forget you guys. Really touching. Again, this show really tugs at your heartstrings, and he ends up at school, and then Keena's there and basically is like, hey, you arrived and you showed up here a lot sooner than I expected. And I still believe that she was really pulling the strings the whole time. But what do you guys think? Was it Akina that was pulling the strings, kind of pushing him along? Was it Amelia? Because you hear her voice throughout in the beginning when he doesn't know what's going on. Was she really pulling the strings? She does have some magic skills and things like that. Or was it someone else? I mean, I don't know. But yeah, guys, I'd like to know what you guys think. Please remember to like and subscribe. I'm Wade Willis, and I'll see you guys next week.